So to tell you what happened, you can look at the screen now. Basically, we have the side that we were on was Lover's Point, and we were shooting the laser across to the Message Hill. And my wife was over there, and as we shot the laser across the water, the beam actually came out about 10 to 15 feet in diameter. So you might think that invalidates our results, but actually I'm going to invoke the dark matter, dark energy clause, and even though it wasn't observed, Earth is flat. Yeah, I know, it's true. I've been outed. My true colors have been revealed. So, from here on forward, please close your minds, because there's nonsense inside. And you must listen to everything I say. Treat others badly. Lie, cheat, and steal. And hate all other shills. And the Earth is a globe. I mean, you don't think it's flat, do you? Oh my goodness. I mean, hello, we can show the curve with math. What's going on, everyone? Jeranism, back again. I'm here. I'm alive. Thank you all for your concern and your well wishes. I appreciate that. And I do apologize right off the bat for the happenings of yesterday. But the good news is we're doing it again tonight. And I believe the results will be definitive. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. First, I had some rather bad news. This is the last time Jeranism will be coming to you. The channel name, that is. I've decided to change it. No longer going to be Jeranism. I am now Schillerism.
Hello everyone, Jason here of Awake Souls, back with another debunk video. This right here is a new video by Jeranism, preliminary details of the 3-mile curvature test happening soon. And while I'm all in favor of doing curvature tests, this one right here is designed to fail from the get-go. And I'm just going to start off by saying, forget all the pails and the posts and the white paint and the play sand. Let's just talk about the laser that Jaren has right now. That he's supposed to be shining through these holes and drilling holes. And Jaren, before you even get started on this, what we need to see is you take your laser and point it at something 3 miles away. It could be a telephone pole. It could be anything like that. Point the laser at something 3 miles away, and then have somebody go out there and mark where they're supposed to drill the hole. Alright, it's not going to happen. You already know this. You've done it before. You realized in your first laser experiment that the laser beam scatters. Over a distance of 3 miles, there's no way that you can mark these holes. It's impossible. If you cannot pinpoint the laser on a telephone pole 3 miles away, this entire exercise is futile and stupid. But let's go into some of the other things that even if your laser could, and it can't, even if it could, reasons why this experiment will fail. I can already hear the shills and the trolls screaming out, Jason, instead of being such a naysayer, you should be helping out. Jaren said help out and, share your ideas. Well, keep in mind that Jaren is the #1 suppressor of myself and Event Skeptic. He made this video, Circus in Town, Event Skeptic, and Awake Souls lying. He dressed us up as clowns. He is the #1 guy in Flat Earth trying to censor the two of us as far as the truth that we've been sharing with the community, how the popular AE model does not work. He continues to support the AE model that has been busted and destroyed. Anybody that's done any research knows that that model does not work anymore. So no, I am not going to work with Jaren in making his experiment better. I know from the beginning this experiment is designed to fail and to add further disarray to the flat earth community, showing that flat earthers are completely inept, that we're unable to conduct valid, rational experiments. And I'll point out to you why that's going to be the case. So just so everybody knows, I have been in construction my whole life. My dad was a cement contractor. I started working for him at age 12 over the summers. I eventually went on to become a home builder, and at age 25, which is 20 years ago now, this home right here, this is in the Two Rivers subdivision in McWanago, which was near where I was living. This was the first spec home that I ever built. I'm just gonna bring the street view in here. And right here, this house, it's a 3,600 square foot ranch with a walkout basement, 9-foot ceilings on the first floor and second floor. This house, I believe, had 28 interior and exterior corners on it, so this was by no means a box house. I built this with the help of one laborer. The two of us framed it, we sided it, we put the roof on, all the trim, everything that you see, installed the garage door. This is concrete that we poured 20 years ago. It's still looking pretty good. Stone on the exterior, we drywalled it, we did all the flooring, all the trim work, all the cabinetry, all the painting. I've been doing this since I was 25 years old. I know how to build things, and your experiment is so stupid. It makes me sick.
First item being that we need 7 of these orange buckets.
So I don't have any problem with your orange buckets. In fact, I am a Home Depot guy, and I've bought hundreds of those, if not thousands. But the way you're going to use them is not going to work. I'll explain.
After that, we're going to be purchasing some posts. They are 4 inches by 4 inches by 8 feet. And we're going to be needing 7 of those, which puts us at about $10 each, or $70.
The problem with this part of your test will become evident when we get to the drill bit part.
We're also going to be purchasing 4 bags of natural play sand, and that will be to place that into the buckets, which will secure our posts. And then we're also going to add a little bit of concrete mix to hold those even better. We'll just put a little bit in each one, and then we'll have those posts secured.
So while it might seem that you're being miserly by mixing play sand and concrete, your play sand is $4.85 for a 50-pound bag, whereas your concrete is $3.90 for an 80-pound bag. So it seems to me that maybe you're just being more lazy than you are being miserly. But here's the real problem. How are you going to cement the posts in your bucket? Are you going to have a perfectly flat, level surface that you're going to be setting your pails on, that then you put your play sand in, then you put your concrete on, and then you have to plumb up your post to the Z-axis. So you check it against your X and Y, make sure it's perfectly plumb, so that post is in the pail perfectly perpendicular to the ground. Now if you do that, what if your ground's not perfectly level? So are you going to do this on site at each location where you set the bucket and then mix this up and then plumb your post? This is really important because we haven't gotten to the drilling part yet.
I'll also have my tripod, and my laser is set up with the adapter so that it sits right on top of the tripod.
All right, so this right here, Jaron, is a camera tripod. Alright, I know you mentioned that. It's a camera tripod. If you've ever used the P900, you know that when you're looking at something 3 miles away, when you move it just the slightest fraction, entire buildings just jump all around through the viewfinder. So these do not have fine micro adjustments to them, like a transit or a theodolite does. It has an arm, it has a tension screw on the side, and then it just jumps willy-nilly all over the place. So the idea that you're going to be able to use some sort of camera tripod to set up a laser and set it up perfectly level and that's going to work for you, it's ludicrous. If you would actually go out and film things with your P900, you would know that.
And speaking of the laser, we have two of them, thanks to Bob for providing the second one. We have a 3-watt laser and also a 2-watt laser. Both of them are blue beam, and we'll talk a little bit more about the lasers towards the end. We also have our 6800 lumen portable sun. The thing is awesome, and we will have that with us as well.
So Jaron goes on to show a couple of devices that he's looking at for leveling up his laser, and the first one that he shows here is a pitch and angle locator. These things are absolute pieces of garbage that do not get used in the building industry. I had a dedicated roofing company for a couple of years and I had one of these. The only time I ever used it is on bidding a replace on a roof that, because over a 9 pitch or over a 12 pitch, I charge different amounts, and it would just be a rough estimate as to whether or not it was over a 9 or over a 12. You can't actually build anything with something like this. It has no tolerances built into it. Let's take a look at the other two choices. So here is Jaron's second choice. It is the MicroMark Miniature Digital Level. Now, I went right to the website here. This is model trains, model kits, hobby supplies. Alright, so this is really cheap, rubbish, homeowner garbage. It is 2 inches by 2 inches. Now it says here, readability 0.05 degrees or 0.01% grade. Alright, sounds pretty good, right? There's nothing on here about tolerances whatsoever. Take a look at the instructions on this. Not a word about tolerances. It sets automatically to sea level, this little 2 inch by 2 inch thing. I wouldn't hang a picture with it. And so here is Jaron's third and final choice. This is the first one that actually shows tolerances. It's a mini pocket-sized digital level, 4 inches long. Okay, a 4-inch long level that advertises 0.1% accuracy. Alright, well, 0.1 accuracy over 4 inches, not a big deal. I would actually hang a picture with something like this. But 0.1% accuracy over 3 miles, let's see what happens. So with 5,280 feet in a mile, 3 miles is 15,840 feet. I draw a line here on the red axis, 15,840 feet. I grab the protractor, snap off that line, and go to 0.1 degree. Now I have to move myself way over 3 miles. Come in here, and I grab the tape measure tool, measure up on the z-axis, and it's 27 feet, 7 3/4 inches. That's a long ways you can be off.
We'll also be renting a theodolite for just 1 day. It's about $43 for the day is the price. It is a standard features David White model LT6 900, located very close to the place where we'll be. So I've already talked to those people and that's been set up.
So Jaron has ripped on me before for being a bad researcher. But you just heard him. It's the David White LT6 900. This is the David White LT6 900. You can buy one new for $175. He's going to rent one for $43 a day. Alright, I'm not knocking this. It's a transit. My father had one. I grew up setting the grades on driveways, patios, and sidewalks with this. The only thing is, they're accurate to a 1/4 inch at 100 feet. How's that going to work over 3 miles? You fool.
Here's a picture of what that theodolite looks like. Also, we'll be purchasing just a small can of white paint. You're talking about $1 here, nothing more. And lastly, I'll be bringing my drill with a 2-inch drill bit.
Now here is one that just flat out cracked me up. He's going to bring his 2-inch drill bit. Okay. His 2-inch drill bit. Okay, I'm at Google. 2-inch drill bit. We're going through wood. I've got it narrowed down to wood selection. You have a Forstner bit, You can do a coring bit or an auger bit. Those are your selections for a 2-inch bit. Things go up to 1.5 inches. You can get some spade bits up to 1.5 inches. But once you go 2-inch, you're limited to these types of drill bits, and you're going to need to have a big Milwaukee whole hog corded drill like the electricians use, plumbers use, for going through the sides of 2x4s. But you're not going through something that's 1.5 inches thick. You're going through something that's 3.5 inches thick. Treated wood. Have you ever drilled through treated wood? Have you ever seen what kind of an edge you get in the hole? It gets all torn up. You're going to snap your arms off. You little weak coward. I want to see you drill a 2-inch hole through a 4x4 post. That will make me laugh. Not to mention, how are you going to keep the drill level as you're drilling your 3.5-inch hole through your 4x4 post? You going to have a drill press on site? Is this the post that you've already pre-cemented or you cemented in place? You're going to move the post as you're drilling it? I guarantee you're going to move the post as you're drilling it. That's for sure.
Besides that, guys, that is pretty much the items needed for the test. So let's get down to it. Now for some little housekeeping items. Number one, the best time to do this test will be, in my opinion, done between 3 p.m. and 10 p.m. The tides that come in will only be about 1 foot of difference if we measure between the hours of 3 and 10 p.m. If you look at the tide sheet, you'll see that they range from about 1/2 foot to 3 feet, which is 2.5 feet, but we can actually catch the tide on the parabola. So what we'll want to do is, as it's rising, we would start measuring when it's 2 feet high, and then over the course of the next several hours, it's going to go up as high as 3 feet, but then start coming back down again to 2 feet. This way, we're only in between that 1 foot period of time.
Holy cow! Now we've got tides involved. So we've got the buckets filled with the play sand and a little bit of concrete, the 4x4s that are 8 feet long, treated, that we're going to be drilling 2-inch holes through. The laser's going to be shining through these. The guy with the theodolight's going to be on the other side. You know, that David White transit that we saw, that's accurate to 1/4 inch within 100 feet, and now we have to time it with the tides. Okay. Not to mention it's a canal. Let me show you. Okay, here's another thing. I actually just went down to the river and recorded this. I live on a river. Water is not always flat. Okay, the river flows from a high elevation to a lower elevation. It's not flat until it's at rest. You would have to know the run-rise of the location that you're doing in order to know what pitch the water is flowing at. You are such a thief, Jaron. Every single part of this experiment has been designed to fail from the beginning or yield no tangible results that are of any benefit other than more controversy. You're completely inept. You have no knowledge of construction, obviously. It shows through in your design here. You've never built anything before. This is designed to fail from the start. So right from the beginning, you can do it tonight and settle this once and for all. Go take your high-powered laser out there and shine it at a telephone pole 3 miles away and show us the mark that it leaves so that we can know whether or not we can measure to it or not. You can end this whole stupid idea that you had tonight. Okay? Because if you can't do that, then all this is for absolute nothing. And even though you say your videos are free, you are going to get people that are going to contribute and want to be a part of this absolute utter nonsense. And it's going to be such a failure that it's going to be a bad mark on flat earthers. If anybody gets behind this, you are so stupid. Stupid. Use your head. This entire concept was designed from the beginning to fail. Jaron is a satanic deceiver that is milking truth seekers, and he mocks people all the time. And like I said, I am all for flat earth proofs, tests that prove the earth is flat. I actually have a video, Flat Earth River Proof, from over a year ago. Okay, this is one of the only flat earth proof videos that I'm aware of that didn't come out of the Samuel Robotham, Eric Dubay, Freemasonic handbook. I came up with this on my own because I live on a river. And I have another way to prove the earth is flat using water. This is very simple. I have a workable experiment that we can do. We don't need to do your nonsense. It's called the water level. And this is the way we used to build things, people, before we had the fancy laser type things. And it is the most accurate way to get level over distance. So let's read this from Wikipedia. It says, a water level is a device used for matching elevations and locations that are too far apart for a spirit level to span. The simplest water level is a section of clear tubing partially filled with water. Water is easily procured for use and easily discarded after use. The ends are held vertical and the rest of the tubing lies in the ground or floor. The water level at each end of the tube will be the same elevation whether the two ends are adjacent or far apart. Water levels have been used for many years. The water level is lower tech than the laser level, but it can be more accurate over long distances. Well, that's an understatement, because we know that lasers are severely limited in how far that they go and how far that they're accurate. Plus, they have to be set up on a device that's perfectly leveled, which is a process in itself. Water level is always level, regardless of how long it is. To avoid air, all the water should be the same temperature. Other sources of air include difficulties reading due to meniscus. Well, meniscus is surface tension. So as long as your hose is large enough, or you add some sort of a solution to your liquid that reduces the surface tension, not a problem. Automotive windshield washer fluid can be used for antifreeze and increased visibility. So we can make a 3-mile long water level, people. I've got some ideas. This is actually simple. It's actually doable. And it'll have readable, tangible results. Let's take a look at some of the things that I've come up with so far. Alright, everybody, I just want to show you just how simple a water level is. If I hit play here, see this? The old timer? This is how we used to do it. When you have water in a hose like this, it's always level. It's that simple. So let me show you what we can do here. I did about 5 minutes of research here, looking around for long, cheap hoses that would work well, and I ended up at Home Depot of all places. They have a 5/8 inch diameter, 150 foot medium duty hose. It's a decent hose. I usually get the higher quality ones myself, but 150 feet for $35.97. So, just going to bring up the calculator here. Darren's test was going to be 3 miles long, which is 15,840 feet, like we learned before. We're going to divide this by 150 feet, and we need 105.6 hoses. Let's just round it up to 106 hoses to cover 3 miles at $35.97. So, multiply that times $35.97. We've got $3,798. So here in Texas, the sales tax is 8.25%. I don't know where you are, but to anybody that hears this video here, if you want to be a part of this and you know of some place that we can get hoses longer, better, cheaper, all those things combined, maybe you're a hose wholesaler yourself, I'm sure that we can get this price lower than this. And we can hook up 3 miles of hoses. And we can set up the experiment someplace not on a river or some sort of drainage type system like Jaren's going to set up his experiment on that's affected by the tides. We could do it on an inland lake that the water is not flowing in. We could do this along a coastline, down a beach. Just find a day that the water is calm. We can stretch the hose out 3 miles down the beach. We can check it on both ends. I already know what it's going to be. It's going to be flat. Water level always shows flat. Okay, level. Sea level, water level. But we can do this if you want. We can get the hoses. Ronnie and I are both construction guys, and we have a proven track record of actually following through on what we do. We are true Christians. We're not out here to swindle anybody. We don't have all the donations, the PayPal, all those things that channels like Jaren has. And we would be happy to organize something like this where we set up the world's longest water level. This is something that could actually get the attention of the media, because it could be the world record. If somebody's done a longer one than 3 miles, then we can do it longer. You know, $4,000. This is basically you, the listener. In order to make something like this happen, if each one of us bought a hose, we each paid for a hose, we would only need 106 of us in order to come up with enough for 3 miles. We could do a 6 mile one. We could do whatever you want. Well, what we want you to do is contact us, help be a part of this, help organize it, help get the media attention. It's a water level, people. It's not debunkable. It is the most accurate way to chest level in the world. Way better than a laser. Way better. It's exactly accurate all the time. So I'm not just a naysayer. I'm not just bashing Jaren for his stupid idea that he had. I am a go-getter, a person that is an organizer, a person that can come up with actual workable experiments, carry them out, live stream it, get people involved. But I'm not going to be able to do this by myself. Not just Ronnie and I. Can't go out and buy that much hose. Can't spread it out ourselves. People will have to be involved. So if you want an experiment that proves the Earth is flat, we can do it. Just get a hold of us. Well, hello, everyone. How are you all doing? I want to say hello to everybody that's joined us in the chat. How are you doing, Ronnie?
Great, brother. What a video. You are a blessing to us all.
You too, brother.
It's
we fortunately have common sense.
It's a great you did an excellent job right across the board in debunking the ridiculousness from the swine that calls himself Jeranism.
So let's get the input from the chat. Does anybody else see the problems that I identified in this video as far as this test that Jaron wants to do? And keep in mind, Jaron is, maybe the most prolific name in flat Earth. So if he runs a test like this, it's like the whole flat Earth community is sort of hanging on it, right?
Well, yeah, it seems like he's got the people's, motivation. And, I played off the beginning there, his first laser test that I was involved in and promoted, and was terribly let down because the spread rate of the laser was, 18, 20 feet wide over 3 miles. So Jared already knows this.
Well, and we have Q in the chat who was actually the one that identified the fakery that Jaron was doing during his laser test as well, right?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Q noticed the shadows and the pixelation to the supposed footage of the laser being shot back across the bay. Q did a great job with that, actually.
Yeah. So the idea that this is just some dumb idea on Jaron's part can sort of be dismissed because he intentionally fakes evidence in the experiments that he does. Mm-hmm. And you can see by the design of this whole test that he plans on doing that in every which possible way, shape, and fashion, it's designed to fail.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. It's quite obvious, right? I think for everyone that has watched. Well, I don't know. I'm going to look at the chat here. I'm just about to turn it on. I haven't heard too many other people's opinions on the test, but me and you both. It was pretty funny, right? I have to say.
Yeah, well, his whole theodolite that he had, he showed the image of a theodolite, and but it said in the specification of what he was renting, that it was that 22x just transit. All right, that's not a special device. It's a very basic instrument, and its working tolerance is 1/4 inch at 100 feet, which is, it works for a lot of different types of construction, but I showed in the video when you project a margin of error of even 0.1% over 3 miles, you're talking 27 feet, 7 3/4 inches that it would be off.
Yeah, that's not a testable tolerance.
Yeah, so he has no knowledge of construction tools or how you would set that experiment up with workable tolerances. Now you work commercial construction, building metal walls, hanging drywall, doing the finish out in steel structures or concrete structures. And what are the tolerances that you're used to working to? And can you tell us a little bit about laying out floors over large buildings and the lasers that you use and the problems that you run into with something like that?
So right away, the problem with lasers are the light, right? Basically, they don't shine too well in the daylight, but so the regular laser that I carry with me is a Hilti line laser. It shoots a cross laser. It has a pendulum, so it's free swinging, so it levels itself always, right? And it's only accurate within 1/8 of an inch over 100 feet. So most lasers are only accurate up to a few hundred feet. And
What's on a big building? If a contractor was to go out and spend $15,000 on a real like self-leveling laser unit, how far do you have any idea how far those things work?
300 feet tops. That's as far as I would ever go with the target. So you're talking about a rotating laser. It spins 360 degrees and it has a target on it. So basically at 300 feet, you can't see the laser, but you have a target that has a markable spot on the center of the target, and it beeps when it's a long beep. You know, you've hit that. You put a tick there, and then from those marks, you snap. So if the building was 3 miles long, you'd only be able to do it in basically a maximum of 300 feet sections.
Yeah, and the so-called theodolite that he was going to get is actually a transit that only works in quarter-inch tolerances to 100 feet.
To 100 feet, yeah.
And they're going to do this during the tide changes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're going to try and catch the parabola of the tide.
So the transit guy is going to have to reset every 100 feet, and he might be a quarter of an inch off every 100 feet. Right?
Yeah, and there's 1,500 feet?
15,840.
Oh, that's a problem.
All on this day while they're putting play sand and a little bit of concrete in these 4x4 treated posts in buckets. And then,
yeah, these posts here.
Yeah. He was going to drill 2-inch holes. Now, people are fine-tuning his crazy, wacky idea, and he is starting to get rid of parts of like drilling the holes through the posts. He's talking about maybe just shooting the laser next to the post, but once again, he has no comprehension of how these things work. He's never done it. If you set up a post and your laser, he's got that single beam laser, and you're going to see it on the side of that post. Possibility of at the second post. So that's his first post out there is at a half mile. Okay. So even if you can see the green there, as soon as that green laser hits any of the post, you're not going to see the laser beyond it at all anymore. It's going to break it up.
Yeah, it's called scatter. And what was the other term that I was telling you? It bounces off itself. So that's why when we do, let's say I'm hanging bulkheads or a drop ceiling, and you have more than one height, and you want to laser up like a big room, you'll actually need to use 2 colored lasers because once the beam reflects onto itself, it cancels itself out. You don't get a markable spot. So the fact that Jaren's trying to shine a laser through a 2-inch hole, instantly I know, because I've tried. You can't shine your laser through a wall, like through a crack in the wall, and then mark the wall in the other room. The laser has to be unimpeded by anything. So to set it up on the face of the pole. So if we're looking east, the canal, let's say the canal is east-west and we're looking east, and we shoot the laser on the face of the pole, that is a pretty good way to do it, like every 20 feet, because the laser spreads like half of an inch every 150 feet, maybe more. So I have no idea how Jaren's going to try to accomplish having anything really what you would do is find a flat surface somewhere where the concrete's been poured, set up 2 posts, one at the beginning mark and one at the 3-mile mark, and then run string lines.
What string lines going to say?
Well, okay. Well, for a big layout, then what you would do, let's say we had a huge parking lot to pour. What they end up doing is they get what's called grid lines, which I'm sure you're well aware of, right? So the grid line will be a snap line ever. Sometimes you'll shoot it with the theodolite off of a post or off of a sewer drain, but in no way is it plausible that you can measure anything over a few hundred feet ever, because any material that you use to snap a line to make a mark, except for the water level. And, you know, I have to give a huge shout out to Honorio Leggio. He's the Italian. So we had to consult the Italians. Huh? We want to know if the earth is a flat, right? Well, we can definitely prove it. I think ladies and gentlemen, when Jason and I watched Jaren's test video, you know, besides feeling really sick to our stomachs because we're construction guys watching someone just make an ass out of himself, and we don't want anything. Like, you've got some awesome stuff, even pro Jaren later to share, I think, but we don't really want anyone to fail. But, you know, we started thinking, how could we give the people something that was a good test? And my first initial thing was to build a fence, starting off with a level top beam to the fence, and then, you know, it's going to cost millions of dollars for 3 miles of material. So my idea was done. And then, so why don't you tell me what sparked? So was it the river? What was it that brought you to the water level?
It's just been construction this whole time, and you know, masonry work. I've used water levels, and they're amazing. They're absolutely incredible.
Yeah. I could build a T-bar ceiling with the water level, and it's as flat as the horizon.
Yeah, they work perfectly. You take a hose, you fill it with water, and then, you know, to make sure it's real easy to read, the ends you use clear tubing. You can use whatever you want in the middle, but on the ends you use clear tubing, and you fill it up with water, and you can spill off a little so that you can see when you hold the two ends up that, you know, your water is in that clear tubing area. And then you just take the one end and you hold it at one elevation, and when you at the other end, regardless of how long this thing is, it doesn't matter, you know, if you're holding the two ends right next to each other, or if you're holding them miles apart, they will be the same height. So this is the way they built foundations in big buildings. Like, if it was a block laid foundation, the mason, before they had fancy fan-angled lasers, used water levels. Every job site had one. And that's how he had set it, you know, the block lines at one end, and it is perfectly level. The fact that a water level, there is no debunking it. It is absolutely rock solid. It shows level. In fact, when I was going through this, when I read the water level thing from Wikipedia, you know, it talks about how it's low tech and how laser's high tech. But then it goes on to say that the water level, it says, can be more accurate over long distances, right? What? Because I mean, how far can the laser go? We're talking about job sites for 300 feet.
Yeah, but it says right in the first level, in the first sentence, is a device used for longer spans.
Yes,
right. They're too far apart. Hello.
So if Jaren wants to know how to make sure that his laser level experiment,
his level.
Yeah, when he sets up his level on his little cheap camera tripod, I've got a camera tripod. I wouldn't use it to, you know, sight something 3 miles away at level. And then he's got his rinky-dinky hobby store things that I guess he's going to set on top of his level. Okay. If he wants to make sure that it is actually truly level, make sure you have a water level there with you, buddy, so that you can just spin it around in 360 degrees. You can check it at whatever distance you want. It just depends on how many feet of hose you have there. So, you know, if you're going to do that, I recommend just leave your fancy fan-angled laser at home. And,
the 2-footer. the what do you call that? The compensator? You know, the little man syndrome, maybe.
Yeah. So water level, water level, water level. So this is I'm not just a naysayer. You know, I'm a person that wants to come up with experiments and stuff. But so the idea evolved. Let me do a screen share quick. And please chat. I would love to hear your input on this.
Okay, one second. I'll be right there.
Okay. Just getting the screen share going. All right. So all you need is 3 miles of hose at 150-foot sections. We need like 106. I'm happy to chip in the clear tubing, all the adapters needed. We can live stream this thing. We can film it with the P900. We can make this an organized event. And let me show you the way the idea is shaping up in my head. It doesn't have to be this way. I'm willing to do this however. I started out by showing that Home Depot has the 150 feet of hose for like $35. Maybe we can get it cheaper. Maybe we can come up with a better type of hose. Maybe we can get something on a spool that we can just roll out. It's already 3 miles at once. But this at 150 feet of hose, we can just get as many as we want. They already have the ends on them, so they just screw together. There's a gasket in there that they seal tightly. So we just need a place. So what I was doing is I was looking at, here I am out in Austin. And if you look at lakes all throughout the country, the shorelines on them, this is a lake. It's the Colorado River. To be able to go along a shoreline of something like this would be very difficult. If you go to other regular, just, things that are not dammed up sections of river, you come down on these things, the shorelines are very jagged. It'd be sort of difficult to stretch this out 3 miles along, something like that. So I was perusing around the country trying to get ideas. I thought about the Great Lakes, and then I'm like, well, what's the closest shoreline beach to me? And it's Galveston. So you're down here visiting from Canada, and you've never seen an ocean or a gulf or anything like that before. And so we got to get out and check out the coast anyway. Galveston's the closest. It's not as pretty as like a Florida beach is, but our thoughts and prayers are with the people in Florida right now, because I think they are getting pounded pretty good. Maybe not as good as it was hyped up to be, but still, it's rough to go through. We got hit by Hurricane Harvey here, and we're 140 miles inland from the coast. So the idea is to go down to Galveston here. I know we've got Patricia Steer in Houston, right? He is a flat earther. Mm-hmm. And in Galveston, there's Teresa Gordon. I know that there's other commenters that I've talked to.
People from the meetup.
Yeah. People from the meetup. So I'm suggesting Galveston is the place to do this. So if you come down here and you're looking for a place that's pretty straight, along the main part of the downtown area here, there's all these jetties that go out that are there to, I guess, help with the soil erosion. So if you work your way down here, there's the Galveston Island State Park. And so this is something that jumped out at me. I'm just going to switch over to...
it's pretty straight, by the way. Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to switch over here to Google Earth quick and So this is that state park. And if you click along here, someplace along that state park, and you come up here, once you get out to, yeah, see, this is a long ways. We don't even have to start there. I'm going to start closer. Come down by this end. So if we start by the 13-mile road, we come up here. We've got a parking lot that comes off the main road, access to the beach here. Look at how straight that line goes down the beach. So that's a 3.25-mile stretch right there.
And you have a digital, what would you call that tool for the landscape measure tool?
It's a roll-off wheel.
A roll-off wheel. So we even have all of the necessary equipment to pull this off.
Well, with a straight beach like this, we're going to be laying out the hoses, which we know are 150 feet. So we can do this test at, so my idea here is if we come down here and we get started, we set up in a spot like this, that we start unpacking the hoses and rolling them out and taking them down the beach like this, and laying them right at the water's edge. And, we screw the hoses together. I'm going to need to have a little generator there, just a small one, and a bilge pump. And so the bilge pump actually has a hose connection on it. But all you do is you put the bilge pump in the water, plug it in, and it's going to start pumping water into the hose. So we will fill up the hose and check this like every half mile. And I already know what's going to happen. I'm going to be standing here. Ronnie's going to be down here. Hopefully we have people that get involved in this and actually want to do a real flat earth proof. Go ahead.
Well, to add in your idea with signing the hose, 106 people, I thought it was like super good.
Yeah, so the idea is forming and shaping where if people want to actually see a real flat earth proof that can get media attention, be a part of it.
Your name on it, that you proved the earth was flat, finally, right?
Buy a hose for the project, and we will sign it and date it. And if you want to pay for the shipping, you can have your hose back.
Yes.
And be part of the
Guinness Book.
Yeah, hang it on the wall. Guinness World Book of Records, world's longest water level proves.
And it's going to prove
Earth is flat.
And we live
on a flat plate?
In a simulation created by
because
Yahweh.
Absolutely. So this is the idea here for a flat earth workable proof. It's really, there's no room for failure in it. If we have bad weather, we'll do it again on a different day. So I am an action guy. And the next thing I did is I pulled up the calendar and the
best date. You're not a date setter per se. You're a target hitter.
Well, I'm looking at the calendar. This next week, I've got secular work all booked up. That weekend, I've got a project that I have to do at the house here as far as getting it ready for sale. The weekend after that, guess what day the Saturday is?
The 23rd. Come on.
September 23rd. Hello.
Earth is flat.
So here is my idea, everyone. Let's please organize this flat earth proof that's very doable. We are happy to make this happen. I mean, it's going to take a little work on our part because I don't think we can get 106 spools of hose in the back of my pickup truck. So we're going to have to borrow somebody's trailer, do something like that, and have the generator and have the bilge pump and have all those things arranged that we know will be necessary so that we don't get there and and have the experiment fail because of a lack of forethought and planning. So the idea is for September 23rd, which if anybody's been following our material, you would know that that is the date of the Revelation 12 sign in the heavens, right?
Yeah.
So it just seems fitting and perfect. So we did make it to the eclipse, and we're hoping that we'd be raptured or something like that. We didn't know what to expect. We knew that it was going to be something special, and it was. It was a simulation realization moment for sure, especially those the eclipse shadows.
Yeah.
It's a but
not the lens flares, the shadows. Right?
Yeah. So it's a day less than 2 weeks. I know we could pull it off. In fact, I think even if people can't get behind this and we can't get all the hoses, I say we still go down to Galveston, and because we're going to be watching for the sign of the Son of Man, the Revelation 12 sign, the birth, and
that's a great vantage point.
It's a great vantage point, and you've never seen an ocean or a gulf before. So, to me, all these things lining up too much more than a coincidence. I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to pull off this experiment, but it's only going to be with people's help. So, I'm going to give out my email address. It is Jason Laufenberg. That is JASON LAUF like Frank ENBERG at mac.com, mac.com. So you can email me. We can talk about this. That is also my email address for PayPal account. So if you're going to be a part of this and be able to purchase a hose or two, that'll be the way we'll be able to do it is through PayPal like that. If the experiment, the test, let's say we can't get the funding. I'm not going to spend the money on anything.
That we can do.
Just return all the money. If we don't provide the test, the experiment, we're not keeping any money.
Full refunds on the Howishai Earth.
Mm-hmm. But let's say we get it funded up and we go there on the 23rd, and there's another hurricane or something, and we can't do it on the 23rd. Well, then we do it on the next time that we can until we pull off the experiment. We know as flat earthers what the result of this is going to be from the beginning. But if you want to make the heads spin of, some Ball Earth friends, some Ball Earth family, you want to show them, hey, these guys have something legitimate. They made the world's largest water level, and then go ahead and have them try to debunk, have them try to prove that water levels aren't level. Okay, because it's the only thing that you can use on large spans that works. So it's a slam dunk. It's easy. It's manageable. Try to choose a location here that if you want to be a part of it, it would be essential. It's at a Galveston Island State Park. If you haven't,
Galveston got hit with the floods too, right?
Yeah. So
back to there.
That more synchronicities. We've got all this action in the Houston area. Maybe we could turn it into a larger event. The more ideas that people have as far as advertising this, that we could raise relief funds for victims there. Just whatever inspires you. If you have some sort of idea that you think would help get this off the ground, make this happen, be a part of it. Really, 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 really want to hear from you. So Rebel Without a Pause asks, how many will this take? I've been strategizing this in my head, and technically it could be done just one person or no, two persons. It needs two persons. So Ronnie and I could do it. But we would want as many people there as possible so that we could have people checking the hose to make sure that there's no drips, you know, at any of the connections, verifying that the whole thing, that none of this is being falsified in any sort of way. You can see the hose the whole long way. We can shake each other's hands. We can talk to each other. We can have some food together. So the amount of people to do this, it could be done with just the two of us, but I really think it'd be important for people to be involved, to help spread out the hoses, to actually be their witness and see for themselves that water is level all the time. We can check this over 3 miles. If all of a sudden donations came flooding in and people just love this idea and wanted to get behind something rock solid and make it happen right now, we could do this for 5 miles. We could do this for 6 miles. There is no limit because we have all the water that we need there. We have the entire Gulf of Mexico. Pumping water through a hose isn't very demanding. We can have just like a horsepower little bilge pump, small little generator.
Well, everyone who's been through the flood probably knows how to pump water. You know, you just plug it in, right, and the water sucks up the tube, right, with the pump. It's pretty basic. You know what, Jason? I just want to make a comment. I don't understand. I see everybody in the chat talking amongst themselves, which is great. QNF does definitely bust, you know, liars and deceivers, but how come nobody's commenting on this water level experiment that's going to actually prove that water's level and we live on a flat earth?
Well, it is really weird. I was getting caught up reading through the comments, and I noticed the same thing, that not a person is...
Are we speaking different languages?
Must be.
It's just such a great idea, and I know it's so plausible. I just don't know why we're not getting any response here. I guess time will tell, right?
Oh, yeah. Maybe they think Jaren's experiment has a better chance of working.
Well,
once people spend the $5,000 to give him a beam concentrator for his laser.
A beam concentrator. And so, but I'm really excited about this, regardless of the live chat. It's a wonderful idea, and I can't wait to set the record.
It is the only way to. This is the cheapest, most accurate, most doable experiment that anybody is ever going to come up with. Ever.
Yeah, you can hit the bell. No, it is. I could go on and on because we just witnessed a GLOBEBUSTERZ episode that was a continuation of this magnetic tomfoolery. And it's just so humbling to hear you come up with the water level experiment at the same time that these people are trying to feed the most unrealistic, relative, thought impossible type projects, you know? Yeah,
well, they had on the people and they spent their whole time talking about their whole toroidal electromagnetic universe model that we last week had already completely debunked and exposed as these are shills and trolls that are using CGI and fake these animations that don't match reality whatsoever, and they talk gibberish and nonsense, and I don't know. We'll have to continue to expose them. You know, they just keep spewing it out of their mouth like vomit, a never-ending stream, and I guess there's people out there that actually think what they're saying is plausible or could be true, and we've shown and exposed so many different ways that the sun and moon cannot be doing circles. There's a lot of people that had caught on to this. And so now, in order to, you know, because they had always promoted that popular AE model, they've had to give us a few more inches on this. And they are now admitting things like the southern star rotation. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, do you have those videos queued up, or did you send me the email? I can't remember how we did that.
No, this is I'm just talking about today's episode of Globebusters, not the other stuff that we're talking about. This is just another thing. Their whole toroidal thing is because, you know, we've stood up and screamed there's a southern star rotation, and enough people have actually researched it and realized there is a southern star rotation. So now they've had to concede that, but the way they've done that is with their donut toroidal field, their magnetic universe, and it's just the craziest rubbish. And to hear, you know, the Jared and the Bob just pile on and be like, this is the greatest thing ever, and this explains everything. You know, they're talking about an electric universe. Can anybody explain the difference if this is all electric, everything's electric, if everything's magnetism? Can you explain to me how that's any different than saying that we're in a simulation? All right, they're talking about how everything's being rendered to the observer, and then they create this crazy donut thing. The being rendered to the observer is simulation. Okay, I was invited on Globebusters to talk about simulation. That's what I've been talking about ever since I've been on YouTube. Simulation, flat Earth, who the creator is. Basically, just the three most important topics that you can. Yet they do not show the most accurate map of Earth, admitted by cartographers, the one that we're showing people.
The Hotine, or no, the oblique Mercator projection.
Yeah, well, the Hotine is just like the modern version with, you know, satellite imagery on it.
Yeah, it's called the world's satellite image. That's what they call that, right? The satellite image of Earth is the Hotine.
Yeah.
Just so but
keep in mind, everybody, that Hotine map, the oblique Mercator, the one that we've been showing for a long time now, is the most accurate representation of all the land masses on Earth. Okay, so that is the scale as far as how wide they are, how far apart they are, how long their shorelines are. All those things are the most accurate out of any map. Now, because the company that makes that map supports the idea that we're on a ball, they say that the distortions have been moved off into the oceans.
Regulated to the least populated land masses on the plane.
Okay, so if you know that you're not on a ball and that we are on a flat plane, and that map, that those land masses are the most accurate representations, that means there is no distortion in the water. There couldn't be, and still have the land masses be the most accurate. There couldn't be distortions in the water. Mm-hmm. So it is the map of this world.
Well, yeah, it says there's nearly zero distortions even at the poles.
Yeah.
Right. No one's perfect, but their projection is mighty close. And you know, the interesting thing, what's his name? Chris, the guy they had on there today. He made this in Blender. So the projection that he's showing, can we play a second of this?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Maybe I'm just confused by, is this because this map under here is much, much worse? So you're saying this map here is not anything close either?
No, we're still trying to figure out, like, where, like, the actual grid map, like a square UTM map, apparently, as far as I know, is accurate as far as the distances between any 2 points. But there's a problem with that because it's all mapped to this UGS.
I went ahead of where I wanted to go.
No, but that's a perfect spot to jump in.
Well, the Mercator, the square map is it's skewed to infinity at the poles, and each degree you move away from the equator, the map skews to infinity.
Well, I love that you started right there, because even Jaron is looking at this and he's thinking to himself, well, what is this rubbish? Any person with any common sense looking at this would realize that that doesn't represent our world whatsoever. It doesn't work in any sort of way. Like, it's way worse than even the AE map, which has already been proven to not be able to work in any way, shape, or fashion. So then he goes on to say something about the square UTM being good for navigation.
Measuring between 2 points.
Yeah. But then he goes into all this, convoluted, but that's based off of the WGS, and that is, based off of us being on the globe and all that. The map that we are talking about, the oblique Mercator, the Hotine, the map that we use, it's in our videos all the time. That is the most accurate representation of this world.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So why wouldn't they use it?
Well, they didn't bring that up, but that's just where I was getting to when I show the map here. Where is it? The what is cartography video? Did I pass it? Right here. Yeah, this video right here, flat Earth map according to Enoch. It shows the map. So the funny thing is they have the map right here. This is the celestial chart. So this is actually the equator and the elliptic, right? You see this green?
Yeah.
That is the correct path. And that's why Jaron started to spill his beans a bit there, because he knew he was in over his head. So which is interesting is they're actually using that because that's what we can observe. I think it probably says Satan down here. I don't know.
Yeah, there's the upside down A.
Yeah, well, and this is like the series stuff from the Sun and Moon group, who accused us of being hackers and saying that we were breaking into their website to steal. What is this? Hipster tie-dye?
Yeah, the Sun and Moon group is a serious satanic group. Serious.
Yeah, I remember I heard one show Morgile was on there and he was telling people to drink cyanide or something, right? It heals
or acid or something. He was trying to kill people.
It's hydrochloric or sulfuric. Yeah, he was. So, that whole group is. But to hear Bob and the Faraday effect and the toroid, what caught my attention as well is, Bob said that it was a toroid, and then you had Steve Torrance, I believe, was he there? And he said it was a flat plane that the sky is on, and then Bob's like, oh, but you said a toroid, and then he had to backtrack. So it's either a physical flat plane or it's a physical toroid. These people, they just can't make up their own minds. Look at this.
They made up so many, just harebrained supposition type things. There's a crystalline dome, and there's some sort of ferro fluid, and the sun is in that fluid, and then it's hitting the crystalline dome, and then two more planes.
Two more domes, yeah.
And that's what's shining the sun. And there's, if we've got to, we can go into it and model and show these absolute failures of how what they are showing there does not work. And we can try to get them to respond to certain questions like, can you please model up the azimuthal rise and set and solar noon declination for a southern latitude city, something like Sydney, Australia, say at the winter solstice, and show us how that works, because it doesn't. on their model. They can't make it work. Even when they flip around magnetic lines, even when they have everything moving, even when they throw in their atmospheric refraction, even when they throw in their Faraday effect, even when they throw in their birefringence, even when they, every single thing that they can throw at it doesn't
Look at
make
this.
it work.
You see this blender render model here of the sphere?
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, you see this hole here? This is your Admiral Byrd Earth inside of Earth or whatever. This is where that actual defect derived from. 3D software and programs that don't have the section here of the grid completed. So it skews the results. So this guy here is creating all this. So these toroids and these donuts, they're just stock mesh symbols and shapes, right? This is like, at least in the model that we've provided for people, we show basically the path of the stars, the sun, and the moon, and they all actually replicate what we see in real life, right?
Yeah, and if a person would actually ask questions on how this works, how to, they don't understand it, we could actually go in and show them and give them a detailed explanation. Here is the rise, set, azimuth. Here's the declination. Based on the day of the year, based on your latitude, based on your longitude, all those things.
See, this is our map right here, and they've pulled a satanic move off and connected eastern and western Antarctica and skewed the prime meridian and the time and date line, right? So when we rearranged it the correct way, like the way that we have it here on our map, it's the same image, but here they're actually admitting that a team of cartographers, and so this stunningly detailed satellite image map of the detailed land cover data depicting the oblique Mercator projection. The parameters of this map have been carefully chosen so that the inevitable distortion that occurs is regulated to the oceans and the least populated and least recognized landmasses. The result is a uniquely interesting flat map of the world, and it exhibits no distortion in the most familiar areas, even at the poles. Okay, this isn't some conspiracy theory website.
That's it. That is the most accurate map of the world. Flat map. So unless you believe you are on a globe, that is the best map of the world. Hands down, period, bar none. Signed, sealed, delivered.
Right here. And that's coming from World Maps Online. You can check out where they get their credentials from. And so this has been out there, right? The layout and the true shape. We found together the 1894.
Oh, we've got Flat Earth Genius in here saying moon phases refute Flat Earth. And apparently Flat Earth Genius has never paid attention to any of our work, because the moon phases are explained in the model that we've been providing for people that nobody pays attention to. So you are absolutely wrong, Flat Earth Genius. There's
the moon. And it actually has the moon that we see from the ground, the craters, relatively in the correct spot for a first time go, right? This shows the paths, right? There, look, can everyone see the face of the moon here? Can you see the face on the moon?
Yep.
Okay. But nobody really, it's incredible to see the lack of, we have to be the most silenced, censored YouTube channels out there, brother.
Well, we have Flat Earth Genius with a really interesting picture or logo or avatar or whatever, doing some infighting back and forth with YouTube. And so this is fake infighting. This isn't real.
what's another thing that's interesting too is we've also shown like how the stars work. When you look to the west, you see them set. When you look to the north on our map and model, you see them rotating counterclockwise. Right? When you look to the east or the south, you're going to see clockwise rotation. Right? So I just don't understand. And then GLOBEBUSTERZ is pulling this stuff out, where Bob says lie after lie, and you should see a different constellation over a 3-hour flight when it takes a whole year to go through the 12. You know what I mean? These people are just gluttons for attention and approval. They are not here for the truth, and we are. And that's, we have been doing this constantly, and we get no. Where's the support? Who wants to be a part of a true test that is going to prove equivocally, with a shadow, with an eclipse, with no eclipsey shadow of time? I can't even say it. Be a part of proving the Earth is flat with the world's longest water level. We don't want a dime out of this. Me and Jason, we work. Jason is he's actually got to do some work, don't you? Soon on a Sunday. So, ladies and gentlemen, we don't want anything. We want to prove the Earth is flat, and we want to do it with all of you.
Yep. So, I don't know, with all the bashing that we've been doing, I thought we might point out one thing that I've seen Jaron say recently that was actually, something true. And he's inched a little bit closer to something that we've been saying for a while. So, if Jaron's going to say something that's actually true, I think we should point it out to everybody and let people know that he did say something that was accurate.
Yeah, I'm interested.
These moments do not come along often, but do a little screen share. This is under fair use, although this isn't actual criticism. This is showing how Jaron was accurate in something. So it's we're supporting these couple things that he says right here. I'm just going to let this play for a little bit.
Okay, so I'm going to horizon distance. Wikipedia. Oh yeah, so watch this. It says here, other planets. Okay. So let's think about our planet. It's, if they want to call it that, it's a ball. It's 24,901 miles around. And they say that our curvature of the Earth bends 8 inches per mile squared. Right? We're all in agreement. So let's read this. On terrestrial planets, that's us, and other solid celestial bodies with negligible atmospheric effects. Okay, so we have atmospheric effects, but it really shouldn't affect the curvature so much. Might the view a little bit. The distance to the horizon for a standard observer varies as the square root of the planet's radius. So is it that easy? Thus, the horizon on Mercury is 62% as far away from the observer as it is on Earth. On Mars, the figure is 73%. On the Moon, the figure is 52%. On Mimas, the figure is 18%, and so on. So I started thinking, okay, so the Moon is supposed to be, on the Moon, the figure is 52% of that of Earth. So if we grab a calculator real quick, and we do a little math, I know it's scary for me to do that, but so we'll take the Moon's radius is, I want to say it's 19, or is it 1092? I think that's what it is. Moon radius. Come on. 1092? Something like that? 1079. Okay. So 1079. And it's, so the horizon is its square distance. I mean, it's square root of that number. So if we just take a calculator out here and go 1079 square root, comes out to 32 miles. Okay, so the horizon of the Moon is 32 miles, and it says that that was 52%. Let me see. Mars, the figure. Oh wait, on on Moon, the figure is 52%. Okay, of that of Earth. So let's see if that number is 52% of Earth's number, sent the same way. So now we'll do Earth's radius is 3959, and I'm doing square root of that, and I get 62.92, so 63. So that is 52% of 62. 33 is 52% of 63. So if that's correct, then it means that our horizon is 63 miles away. So I don't even get it. If our horizon is 63 miles away, why are they saying it's 3? And that seems to be something that makes more sense to me. That matches more of what we see. And there must be something wrong in that, and that's why they don't let us know that. Because basically what that is saying is that our atmosphere causes the Earth to curve in 3 miles. Oh, this is what I was basically trying to get at. The horizon that they've all been talking about, the curved horizon where boats go over, has nothing to do with the physical nature of the Earth at all. It is completely an optical illusion. So we can't see the horizon. The horizon that would be caused by the ball Earth, which so many people think you wouldn't have a horizon if it wasn't for a ball. Wrong. You would have a horizon, but the horizon for the ball Earth would be much, much, much further. So the horizon that we get at 3 miles is not a nature of a ball, or it has nothing to do with the physical nature of our planet. It has to do with the optical nature, because the horizon should be 63 miles away. Should be nowhere close.
Oh boy.
Boom!
He said 3 miles?
Yep.
So that's the circle of sight, right? So it's interesting because if that's as far as we can see, then the sun and the moon must be...
They're close. They're close, brother.
within 3 miles. But
let's talk about that for a little bit. If you could can you start my video again? It says it's shut off. That's something we got to figure out with Zoom.
oh, I wonder why. 1 second. I'll just make you the host. And you are now the host. Yeah, sorry, Tim. We're not snipeable. You should be camera go. Are you screen sharing too?
Yeah, here we go. So Jaron said something pretty smart there. He used, some math and came to the conclusion that on Earth, our distance to the horizon should be 63 miles. But then he, noticed the problem that the globers say that at 3 miles, we start having boats start going over the horizon. That's supposed to be a proof that we're on a ball. He was smart enough to notice that that the video that you created about perspective, that is what's taking place, and it has nothing to do with our distance to the horizon that we can see. So that is a great thing to recognize. Everybody, Jaron is correct about that.
Yeah, he's got it. So at 3 miles, that's where the objects clear our circle of sight. So it has nothing to do with curvature, and that's proven on a plane, right?
Yeah. So what we need to do is, go outside, stare at the horizon, figure out how far the farthest thing is that you can see. We've got all this fake information that we've been given by the globe earthers. And so I'm looking at it with like new eyes of a child, looking at the water towers that I see out on the horizon, calculating from the spot I'm observing to that, seeing how far that is. From what I understand, if you were on a perfectly flat plane, okay, there's no obstructions, no trees, no nothing at the horizon. Person that the observation height is like 6 feet, the sky would meet the ground 3 miles out from you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we add elevation into the mix, either be it positive elevation where we're going up the z-axis or negative elevation, that affects our circle of sight to the horizon that we see around us. So the first example I was talking about was on a perfectly flat plane with no obstructions. Now that doesn't, we're not going to find that. So when I look out at the horizon, you know, at a half mile, I have trees that are 40, 50, 60 foot tall. So the sky is meeting the ground at the tops of those trees right there, just a half a mile away. It's a very small circle of sight. Now, one of the things that you noticed when you came down here was how it appeared that we had this much larger sky here in Texas, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, as we looked at it, what it appears to be was that where you live in Canada, the amount of areas that you didn't have big trees around you where you lived were pretty small. Now, you noticed big sky where else in Canada?
The prairies, yeah.
Yeah.
Specifically Saskatchewan.
Because there it's real flat, right?
And not too many trees. It's all wheat and cornfield.
So then you have a big sky.
Big sky, yeah.
And then there's people like Q. I don't know if he's still around in the chat. You know, he's always noticed that he has this very, very small view of the sky.
Tiny. And not only that, but his neighbor will have a different view of the sky than him, right across the way from him. Which,
yeah, because things are packed in and there's trees, and so you really do have a small circle of sight. Now, the way to increase your circle of sight, your circle of view, is to elevate yourself to your horizon. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're on relatively flat ground and you have a bunch of trees that are all 50, 60 feet tall off at the horizon, but you elevate yourself up, you know, higher than that, if you're up 100 feet, now all of a sudden your circle of view is much larger.
Yeah, looking down, right?
Well, all the way around you, you have a larger circle of sight.
Totally. Without a doubt, your circle of sight grows due to your altitude. But the interesting factor in this whole thing is, which I learned doing the video, is that the sun and the moon and rainbows, and I'm pretty sure clouds, aren't affected by this law of perspective on a plane.
Yeah, well, that's one of the areas that I'm. So the Bible talks about 3 heavens. All right. Most of us have probably seen an image like this as we're watching YouTube videos, because flat Earth is biblical. All right. So a lot of us Christians are going to call out the fact that, you know, the Bible has been correct all along. It stood in the face of science and was correct. And the Bible talks about these 3 heavens. And a lot of people have issue with us saying that we're in a simulation. They'll say it's not biblical. The Bible doesn't say that we're in a simulation. The Bible can't say that we're in a simulation, because back when it was written, there was no such thing as computers. How could you convey to somebody that you are in a simulation? Now, if you listen to the things that Yahushua or Jesus said, you listen to the things that the apostles that were with them said, and you look at them in the context of this being a simulation, all of a sudden they'll make a whole lot more sense to you. So we've been doing that, going through scriptures, trying to increase our understanding, running it through the filter of knowing that we're in a simulation. This is something that is observable evidence in the real world. We can go out with a P900. We can record a sunrise or a sunset, and oftentimes we'll find that there are clouds behind the sun on both the sunrise and the sunset. And when it's, at that 15, 20 degree elevation, often in our circle of view, 3 miles generally, or maybe more if you have some higher elevation. So if you can picture yourself in a situation where you can look all the way around you and you can see the horizon, we see a blue dome over our head. Every single one of us see that same circuit. It's like a half dome, a half sphere. It's a half bubble that from us being in the center, looking all the way around, we see that blue. And we know from the scriptures that in the beginning, day and night were created before the sun and moon were. So it seems in that first circle of sight that our field of view, our perspective, circle of sight, that blue sky dome might be the limit of the first heaven for each one of us. And then the second heaven is where the sun, moon, and stars are. Now, for all of us that have been out there recording with the P900, if you've ever taken the time to do an experiment where you record something that's, say, 10 miles away from you, if you live near a city and there's some big buildings, set yourself up 10 miles away and zoom into those buildings. And what you're going to notice is that at full optical zoom, it's barely filling the frame. And then you go to the digital zoom and now it's pixelated. It's got waviness, like those heat distortions. And your focus will be set all the way out to infinity. Maximum distance focus. This is at 10 miles. Now, when you turn that camera up and record something like the moon, you are not going to be able to be fully, at full zoom. You're only going to have just maybe a small section of the moon, maybe a quarter or less of it will fill up the entire frame. If you go back to having the moon just fill the frame, and this is going to be close to the end of the optical zoom, you are going to have to adjust the focus much nearer than the infinity in order to have all those craters and all that in focus. So the focus for the moon is closer than a building 10 miles away out on the horizon. So my first run at this is that blue sky is, and we're in a simulation, that all the gradients to it, as far as, it lights up before the sun shows up every day. We see the sky lighten up. It goes, from the near black to shades of orange and then yellow and then into the blue sky. And that's happening in that first heaven, our immediate circle of sight. And I'm guessing that this is also the distance that we would see like a ship go over the horizon. This is our field of view. And then the second heaven, we see the sun, moons, and stars. So this, of course, this depends on your elevation, but if we're on flat ground and the blue sky goes out to 3 miles for us, then the second heaven could be from the mile 3 to mile 10, because P900 can bring like the sun and moon into focus. And then the third heaven is where Yahweh, the creator of this world, that's his abode. And us flat earthers, we know that beyond the sun, moon, and stars, there really isn't anything, because we're not a spinning ball in space. But if you're a Christian and you believe in the creator, you also know that you're in a simulation, then you would see that abode of the Creator is just beyond the sun, moon, and stars, which might just be a 10-mile radius from us. So to go from the idea that, you know, there's a God that's like a center of the universe and we're billions of light years away, and you know, he's not really paying attention to us, to going biblical and you know, studying, learning that the earth is flat and learning that we're in a simulation, you can see that just that space 10 miles away from us be the abode of the Creator, in that the empty space that nothing's being rendered. So his presence would be everywhere, all permeating over all the earth, right there with us all the time. It's very personal, very personal. So I'm not saying it's this for sure, but when I'm doing my observations and I'm studying the scriptures, I'm seeing that first heaven being where the blue sky comes down for us. Now, when you study things like the clouds at the horizon, they pixelate out. So it appears that the way the clouds and stuff are projected against the blue sky, their movement in clouds in general, I've made a video already that shows that, hey, we got a big problem. We got a big problem with clouds. It's not just water vapor, like boiling water and watching the steam come off of a pot on the stove. These clouds will sit up there with practically no movement and maintain shape all day long. So there's issues with that, but then we'll see them off at the distance, and it's like they're being projected on that blue sky dome to us. This is something that the GLOBEBUSTERZ and them are conceding now. They're realizing that popular flat Earth AE model doesn't work, because there are things like the southern star rotation. And so they're giving inch by inch to us, to the truth. People are not refuting us. Now they're trying to talk about things like, well, how does the equinox work on this new toroidal?
SketchUp. You have it mapped.
Yeah, well,
Micro.
I was just going to say that I had a challenge video this last equinox in the spring. And of course, we've got another equinox coming up real soon. So I'm going to re-up the challenge to all the popular flat Earth channels. You know, show me how your model works on the equinox. There's all this double talk and Faraday effect and suppositions.
Objectives.
And Ronnie and I will show you how it works in our model, specifically for any location on Earth. How we see the sunrise 90 degrees east everywhere on Earth. How we see it set 90 degrees west everywhere. Now, I don't want it to have to be like a debate. I wish that there were people out there that were just honest truth seekers that wanted to have a conversation with us, and we could do a hangout and we could talk about it, and people would spread the word, and that we would get this message out to people. But of course, none of that's happening, and we have the popular flat Earth channels that continue to disregard all these problems with the model that they're promoting. So it's going to have to be a debate. I'm not angry with people like Jaron and Bob and stuff like that. I don't want to go beat them up. I don't want to stab them in the neck with a number 2 pencil like IPS. I want them to recognize the evidence that we've been showing here, the truth that we've been showing to people, and
Share it.
And share it. And if you can expound upon it, and if you can make it better, if there's something that we missed or we're a little bit off on something and we fine tune it, so be it. That would be fantastic. We're just trying to get to the most accurate truth possible. But I'm going to continue to re-up this challenge over and over and over again to all the popular flat Earth channels. that AE model has to be disregarded, thrown away, torn up, burned. I'm sorry, people. If you got it tattooed on you, you made a serious mistake. You can put the oblique Mercator right over your old AE model, and it is the most accurate map.
Undebunkable by mainstream science.
Yeah. So.
Water level.
Yeah. So that's the basics of what I wanted to cover today. Is there anything else you wanted to throw in?
No, just how thankful I am to be a part of proving that the Earth is flat once and for all with the water level experiment. Shout out to the cicadas. Really enjoyed them during your video. They had a really...
They were present.
Yep, they made their presence known. I can't wait to prove that the Earth is flat and to get into the Guinness Book of World Records with a water level, the world's largest water level, that proves we're on a flat Earth and proves that we're in a simulation and proves that the creator is Yahushai. And you did a lot of it. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Jaron, for inspiring that.
We could do this as early as September 23rd, people, if people got behind this and wanted to see this happen. I think it would be fun to do it then. Of course, it's the Revelation 12 sign. This would be a neat event. We know that all the satanic channels, if we're still here September 24th, they're all going to be... So, you know, we could do this on the 23rd. This event is supposed to be happening like around 6 p.m. We could be sitting there on the beach watching after having proved the Earth is flat, gotten a lot of publicity for the flat Earth. It'd be great. It'd be interesting. So if you want to try to make this happen by then, get a hold of me, Jason Laufenberg at mac.com. And, you know, if not, best of luck to you. Best of luck to Jared and his experiment. We know from the beginning it's going to be a failure. That's if that's what if you want to see the flat earthers look ridiculous, just stick with that. So
do you want to end with the GLOBEBUSTERZ? We are the Real GLOBEBUSTERZ video, 2-minute piece.
Sure. Where's on Beyond?
No, on mine.
Okay.
But yeah, shout out to the chat, even though they're fighting each other. Great job explaining the sunsets, though. And sunrises, by the way. Hopefully the chat enjoyed that.
Trying our best. There were no questions to answer.
We are the Real GLOBEBUSTERZ with a Z. With a Z, right? Z in the States or Z? No.
All right. So we're...
That's not it. Nope.
Nope.
Nope. That one's 2 hours.
Oh.
Did you share the sound?
It should be, yeah.
Great show. Great broadcast. I mean, like, just thank you, everybody involved.
This one?
Yeah. We'll see you on Wednesday. Might want to restart it up and mute. Cicadas will overtake the...
This is such an exciting day. Hi guys.
Here we go.
Skeptic Media here. This is such an exciting day. This is where we're going to see the Flat Earthers first model. I heard
You got it.
Flat Earth British talk. When I hang out with Doomweaver, this is going to be history in the making. I can't wait. This is so exciting. GLOBEBUSTERZ have their first map, working map.
Okay, I'm going to do it one more time.
Hi guys, it's Skeptic Media here. This is such an exciting day. This is where we're going to see the Flat Earthers first model. I heard Flat Earth British talking about it when I hang out with Doomweaver, this is going to be history in the making. I can't wait. This is so exciting. GLOBEBUSTERZ have their first map, working map. This is going to blow all the skepticism away. Even me. I might even change my name to Jed Flat Earth Media. My heart's beating here. I can't wait. Let's go, guys. Let's watch this.
Oh, you heard that right. Join Awake Souls, Jason Laufenberg, and Ronnie Harris of Event Skeptic.
I can't wait. This is so exciting. GLOBEBUSTERZ have their first map, working map. It's...
Okay. The Flat Earth, working map, and model, macro to micro. Stars to the sun.
Will always be lined up where the north is.
Oh man, I just feel like I ate some manna.
Different grid work than this. It was just a rectangular grid work, but I forgot to adjust the angle. Timeanddate.com. It's 63 degrees. It's the sunrise angle. Was it 87 is the sunset, and
Tonight, live at 8 p.m. Central. Only on Beyond Flat Earth. Peace.